Well, good morning, everybody. It is April 18th, so it's the middle of April now, and I thought that I'd come out and start doing more of my weekly kind of walk and talk garden tours with you. I have done these in the past last year, and people really seemed to like them. I just kind of casually walk through my garden, nothing super fancy, and just kind of show you what's going on for the week and how things have changed. I think that things are starting to emerge enough now, quick enough that I can probably have things to show you each week, just like the changes happening and what's popping up. But you can probably see for this week, I have a lot of tulips that are some of them are done already, but some of them haven't even opened yet. So a lot of tulips to show you this week and other things that are popping out of the ground. So let's just start walking through, and I hope that you can hear the birds. It's a beautiful, cool morning. It's about, I think, 8 o'clock at this point in the morning. So I wanted to get out here as soon as I could to avoid some of the traffic in the background and hopefully give you some bird sounds to listen to. And of course, I have my cup of coffee to accompany me this morning. So go ahead and grab your cup of coffee if you want to sip on coffee with me while we walk through my gardens. So you can see all of these tulips blooming. There are still some that are on their way. And then there's some that have already fizzled out. We had so much rain in the past week. Crazy amount of rain and wind, so it really did a number on a lot of the tulips. And another thing about the tulips that I really was not expecting was for them to all be yellow and red. I bought all of these tulips on clearance at Home Depot in the fall this past year, and the mixture was supposed to be like pinks and yellows and reds and oranges, just a really nice mixture of colors. But they are mostly coming up red and yellow, which is not what I was expecting at all, and not what I had planned, but they still look very pretty. I just will have to maybe second think getting the clearance bags of tulips next year. Last year I did get clearance bags as well, and they were much more of a mixture of colors. So I guess maybe I just got some flukes this year, but I'll definitely be maybe rethinking which varieties I purchase in the year to come. In front of the tulips, I have this winter gem boxwood hedge that I put in a couple of years ago, and it is looking really nice right now. Just really growing super well. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to go in and trim this up after the tulips are done. I may just give it a little bit of a haircut just to kind of start training it into a hedge shape. My plan is to keep it around 2 by 2, I think. So I may go in and do that once these are done blooming. Right here behind the tulips, I had this Mystic Spires blue salvia planted last year. It's a beautiful salvia, and it's kind of marginal for my area. I wasn't sure. The other year it did not come back, but this year it is coming back. I think that I may have lost one right down there that I will have to replace, but these 2 are coming back, and then the 3 on the other side are coming back. So that makes me happy. That'll save me some money and just kind of giving them a head start on growing for the year. This is one of my obelisk beds, I call it. I'm planning to paint this obelisk, that sagey green color right there, hopefully the coming week. And I usually have filled this whole area out with taller perennials. I have some sunflowers to put in here, and hollyhock, maybe some foxglove in the future, dahlias, all kinds of things. And eventually I would really like to get some kind of a trellising system for this wall, just to fill this out with some maybe evergreen vine or something like that, just to kind of remove the starkness of that wall. But my plan for next year is to have this whole kind of border right behind the boxwoods be filled with tulips and alium. I really want to add some Globemaster allium along here. I do have some purple sensation allium, I believe it was, coming up right here that I stuck in there last year. It's not doing the greatest. I only see 2 or 3 buds coming up. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I am going to maybe disperse these throughout this bed as well, instead of just clumping them right there all together. And then I do have some anemone that are coming up. That's the Fall in Love Sweetly anemone back in there that I'm also going to move to a different location. And coming down here, you can see more of that Mystic Spires blue salvia popping up. And I have this Limetta hydrangea. These always come out real early. It's really putting on some nice sets of leaves, really looking beautiful amongst the tulips. And I also noticed that my crepe myrtle is starting to leaf out, so that is exciting. This is a Tonto red crepe myrtle. It gets beautiful, bright, almost like watermelon pink reddish flowers in the summertime. I'll just let you look at all of these pretty tulips. I think that one is pink for whatever reason. This mixture that I think was the same as the others has more pink in it. On the other side of my crepe myrtle, I placed a bed full of daffodils that are on their way out. There's still some that are blooming, but for the most part, they are on their way out. So I'm gonna come in and I'm going to deadhead off all of these seed pods right here, just to make sure that the plant puts all of its energy into the bulbs and not into producing more seed pods for next year, so that I can hopefully get a better show of flowers next year. And you can also probably see that I have some larger strappy foliage in there. These are Globemaster allium that are on their way. It looks like this one might be actually starting to open up a little bit. If I can get my camera to focus, there we go. So I sprinkled these in last year. I'm probably gonna rearrange them a little bit just to scatter them a little bit more throughout this whole bed instead of in a circle. But I really love the idea of these allium, adding more allium to this bed with the daffodils and just having them float over top of the daffodil foliage. They usually come out soon after the tulips are done, so just provide that nice kind of continuous interest in the spring garden. Bringing you back to the main border over here, I just wanted to swing you around real quick to show you my neighbor's cherry tree in bloom. Isn't that so pretty? These are blooming everywhere right now. I just think they look so beautiful. I love having that borrowed view from our yard. Last year, we planted these D-Runk boxwood right here that will get about 10 to maybe 15 feet tall, provide some nice evergreen structure right there. And I plan to figure out what I want to plant in front of them maybe this year. And then everything is just really coming to life in this border. Things are popping out of the ground. This is a limelight prime hydrangea that is really looking pretty and leafing out nicely. And then I just have lots of patches of tulips, I have a phlox coming out of the ground right there. And my goodness, this is a royal sunset lily back here, and it really took off. I put that in last year and it really exploded in growth this year. And then I have a peony that I'm hoping to get blooms from this year. It'll be the first year. I think this was a division from one of my mom's peonies, so it's taking a few years to get reestablished. And these behind everything are purple pillar rose of Sharon. They are starting to leaf out as well. They get beautiful purple flowers come like July and flower really until the fall. They make such a gorgeous backdrop to this perennial bed right here. They will get about 10 to 15 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide. I do have to keep them in check a little bit as far as the width is concerned, and we may start keeping them trimmed for height as well. And here I have an old galvanized container that I love, that I try to plant herbs in every year. And some strawberries that I'm considering moving to a pot to protect from the rabbits, which is something I deal with a lot in this garden. You'll hear me talk about rabbits a lot. These daffodils are also done. I'll come in and deadhead those as well. I have some caramel heuchera that is beginning to grow back after being pruned by the rabbits. And some clumps of black-eyed Susan and daisy. And then I did have a coneflower back in there, but I'm not seeing it come up, so I may have to replace that this year. And I think these are baby columbine seedlings coming up. I had planted some columbine over in my shady border across the yard, and I'm barely seeing any seedlings come up in that spot, but I'm seeing them pop up in all the other areas of my gardens. So I'll let that go. This is the Cat's Pajamas Nepeta that is starting to put on some blooms. And some more daisies and black-eyed Susans. There's a coneflower down there popping out of the ground. And then some iris right there in the foreground, and some Helen von Stein lamb's ear in the front border. This lamb's ear is my favorite kind of lamb's ear. I do plan to divide and split this throughout this garden, and maybe use some of this in the front of my house, in the front porch area as well. I have a little lime hydrangea coming out, and then I do have alium sprinkled all through this border as well. That's right behind the hydrangea there. I forgot to show you that on this other side. Looks like it's starting to lose it turns that brownish color at the tips. The leaves, the foliage tends to die off as the flowers come out. So that's a sign that they might be blooming soon. More tulips. Some are done, and there's one that hasn't quite opened yet. Again, lots of red and yellow. So pretty. And then I'm going to show you this new little addition that I added to my garden right down there. But before I do that, here's some more catmint blooming. And then I just have a repetition of the black-eyed Susans and daisies and coneflower, and more alium coming up, and the caramel heuchera spotted throughout this border, and a grouping of daffodils that I'll have to go through and deadhead also. And this is the newest addition to my garden. This is a beautiful iron garden bench that my mom gave me. She had it in her garden, and she is
working on cleaning out her house, that she's going to be moving in with my brother fairly soon. So I am inheriting a lot of her things. This is one of them. And I just think that it is so pretty right here in this spot. Right behind it, I have this Twombly's Red Sentinel Japanese Maple that is looking absolutely glorious right now. I cannot believe the brilliant red color that that puts off. I think it is gorgeous. It does begin to fade a little bit throughout the summer, but then it puts on another big show in the fall with this beautiful bright red foliage. I could not be more happy with this tree. Behind this bench, I have a bunch of foxglove that are coming up, which I think are going to look so pretty behind the red maple and this bench. And then I do have some hydrangea. These are the wee white hydrangeas that are doing okay. These two are popping out nicely, but the other two right over here are really slow to come out. And then I did have a fifth one right in there somewhere. I don't know if that didn't make it or what. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. But I thought that the hydrangeas in front of here, it's not really a functional garden bench to sit on. It's more for decoration. And then using it as kind of a support system for something that is taller than the wee whites, but shorter than the foxglove. And having it grow through the bench, I think would be a really pretty idea. So I'm gonna have to think about what I would like to put growing through the bench. If you have any ideas, please let me know. As we come around the corner here, this is a whole row of green giant arborvitae that we will keep trimmed so that they don't get quite so wide. And I'm gonna walk you over here. I have some pots I wanna show you over by my hot tub and show you down here in our shadier section of our yard underneath these beautiful river birch trees. Right behind our hot tub, we have this hedge of skip laurels, and they are blooming right now. These are the white blooms that they get in the springtime. I think that maybe some people love them, maybe some people don't like them. I think that they're really pretty. They're not my favorite bloom ever, but I think that they're worth keeping. I always wait to trim them until after they bloom. And they do have a really nice scent. It's like a very sweet scent to them. The pollinators have also been going crazy over here between these and my hollies blooming over by my porch. They've been loving this area. So I'll go through and I'll trim these up after they're done blooming into a nice tidy hedge. And this area of our yard gets more shade. I have some obelisks, and then you may have already seen the video where I planted up this new camellia. This is an April remembered camellia. It will get around 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, hopefully. My idea is for it to fill out this space a little bit more between the green giant and the obelisk. And I added these hosta from our front porch area. I did a video a couple of videos ago on these hosta that I divided and scattered all throughout my yard. I think that these are gonna look really pretty just along the border here. And eventually I will work on adding some more perennials and things to this area, but these provide a really nice addition for right now. I think that the camellia is probably on its way out. It'll be done blooming really soon, but I can enjoy the last of these blooms for the next week or so until that happens. I just absolutely love it. I'm so excited to watch it grow, and I really hope that it survives. I had 5 more that I talked about in this last video that had died on me, but I am crossing my fingers that this one will do really well. And then coming over here, I have done a big rover of impatiens until I get more perennials added to this bed. And I have a pink mink clematis that is really starting to put on growth. So I really need to get this obelisk painted so that it can grow up this obelisk. I put those in last year. I'm hoping I get some blooms off of them this year. And I'm anxious to see how they're gonna do in this shadier section. I've heard that they can do fairly well. Maybe not bloom as good as if they were in full sun, but they could do okay in part shade. Down here is my row of Annabelle hydrangeas that do really well in this part shade area, and some Hanakloa, is that how you say it? Hakoni Japanese forest grass. It's the all gold variety. I'm gonna add a couple of more to this front border here this year is my plan. And they will get nice and big and just really beautiful, like drapey foliage on those that just kind of like moves so gracefully in the wind, and just, I don't know, I just really love the look of them. There is another pink mink down there, and a small grouping of hellebore that I added this year from the Christmas Home Depot specials that they had at the end of the season. And I put in my metal obelisk right there just for some little decoration. And my daughter has painted me these rocks over the years that I just love grouping together. And this is the bed that the rabbits really enjoy. So I'll show you real quick. Before I do that, I wanted to show you, here's a couple more columbine seedlings. I had 3 columbine plants in here last year that I was really hoping would come back and be real pretty for this space. It was a really pretty pink columbine, but so far I'm only seeing those seedlings, which I will let go. I think I see one back there too, maybe a small one back in there. So I'm just gonna keep my eye on those and see how they do. And then I had a bunch of crocus all along the border here that the rabbits nibbled off all of it. I think I only got a couple of blooms. They've been gnawing down on my heuchera that has not really had a chance to put on growth yet. And my ferns, I have some brilliant autumn ferns back in here that they have also been chewing on. So they're really going to town, and also on some of my hostas. You can see my heuchera has barely come back from the damage, and I think they continue to chew on it. And right back in there, you can see that the fern is emerging out of the ground, but they have been chewing off some of those fronds. Is that what they're called? And I have been going through and spraying the past few weeks with the deer fence, the liquid deer fence. But it is so hard to keep on top of it when the pressure is so intense. You almost have to be out here every day just to stay on top of it all with the rabbits. So I'm gonna keep on trying, and I just am gonna have to learn to accept it, that there's gonna always be some rabbit damage. I have lots of daffodil foliage in here that is going to need to die back, and I'll come in and deadhead, and then just lots of hosta popping up out of the ground. I went ahead and covered this one, and I could probably take this cover off because it looks like it needs some room to grow. This is the wee hosta, I think it is. The frilly, it looks real frilly on the leaves, looking so fresh and beautiful. And you can see back there, the rabbits nibbled on the leaves of that one. And then I have a beautiful big one popping up out of the ground. That is the Shadowland. I always want to say Diamond Lake, but I think that's wrong. I will try to put that up on the screen, what that one is. I also have some Casablanca lily in here that I'm gonna have to rearrange a little bit away from this hosta. I think this is the blue halcyon hosta coming up, and that right in there is an elegans hosta. And then I had planted this row of sweet talker viburnum in the back of this bed for a nice hedge. I have 5 back in here to do a nice little corner hedge, and I'm going to add 2 more just to fill it out a little bit better. But I'm excited to see those grow. They will get around 8 feet tall and 3 to 5 feet wide, but I will keep them trimmed up. Some of the daffodils are still looking real pretty back here. This is our autumn brilliant serviceberry that eventually will provide some nice shade on top of the river birch trees. And then I also have a red maple that is my neighbor's, that is right behind me, that also provides shade. Look at that cherry in the background. Isn't that so pretty? As you come into the other side of our fence, we have another gate here where I have these 3 Dragon Lady hollies, which are looking a little like, I don't know, they might be on the struggle bus a little bit. They are turning real yellow and dropping a lot of leaves. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with those. If you happen to know, let me know. But they get these little tiny white flowers that the bees go crazy over. They have just been buzzing all over these hollies. And this bed is a work in progress, but I have some sedum coming up. This is an autumn joy sedum, and then I put this obelisk, this trellis in right here that I had in another place in my garden that I am not quite sure what I'm going to do with yet, but maybe have something growing up that, and just kind of stored a bunch of perennials in this bed over the winter. I did have some daffodils. Some of them are still blooming, and I also had planted some phlox. I'm thinking, this is creeping phlox. I'm thinking the rabbits also got these because they are not looking too good either and are not blooming yet. So that's my guess on those. But I'm just going to continue to evolve this bed and add a mixture of perennials and annuals, and maybe I'm thinking about adding another rose right here in the middle of these hollies. The same roses that I have out front, though. So Easy Double Red Rose by Proven Winners, I think is so pretty. So I may do that and just keep kind of playing with this area a little bit. These daffodils are still looking pretty, and I have this big clump of perennial geranium up there on the other side of my walkway that is looking so beautiful right now. It is such a tough plant and spreads super well, but is very easily controlled. I'll give you a different angle of it just so you can see how big it is. It gets really pretty kind of pinkish white flowers in the late spring, early summer. And then it just really stays evergreen all year. It turns a really pretty red in the fall and winter. Along my path here, I want to add some more ground cover, maybe some creeping thyme or something like that to fill out this path. And then I have this Winecraft black smoke bush that is beginning to leaf out right here. Some beautiful fresh new growth. This is an experiment in this area. I think I'm going to try to keep it trimmed so that it doesn't go over the height of our hose link right here, and just see how it works. I really don't care for the smoke bush flowers all that much anyway, so I'm not super sad to be losing the flowers, but I do love the foliage. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that does over the coming years. And coming to the other side, we have tulips along the border, and these are 3 sweet talker viburnum that I'm going to use as a hedge right here. Maybe keep them trimmed around 8 feet tall, 3-ish feet wide, somewhere around those measurements. They will take a little bit of time to get there, but I'm really enjoying this border of tulips right now. And again, I don't see too many pink ones, maybe one right there, but mostly reds, maybe I guess a little bit of orange and yellow.
outside of our gate, I have two incredible hydrangeas planted that are putting on some nice new growth. And then we have this beautiful laurel right here that is starting to put on its flowers. It gets these beautiful fringy pink flowers on it with this dark purple foliage. I think is so pretty, especially against the foliage of my hollies right there. You can see it's blooming a little bit more back here for some reason. And this guy will get very big if we do not keep it trimmed and in check. So we do trim this down every year after it's done flowering, just to kind of keep it in check a little bit. This bed is a work in progress. This Weigelia had to be cut down because of a gas meter replacement that we had to have done. So it is putting on new growth, but it will not be blooming this year. But I'm gonna just be playing around with this bed to figure out what exactly I wanna put in here in front of these big shrubs. This was here when we moved in, as was the laurel that I just showed you. And this one we did put in to kind of mirror the other side, but it ended up being a different color than the other one. It was like it gets more of a red leaf, especially in the fall. And then the flowers are beautiful, but they're more of like a darker pink, like almost like a magenta. But this one is flowering prolifically. Super beautiful. And then we will keep them trimmed about the height of our porch rail right there, I think is the plan. And right beyond this laurel we have our Jane magnolia that is losing its flowers, but still very, very pretty. And last fall, I'd put in these Fall in Love Sweetly anemone that are coming back really nicely right in front of this laurel, so they will provide some nice fall interest with pink flowers when this does not have anything on it. And then I have a grouping of more incredible hydrangeas that will put on a beautiful summer show right here. This was a tricky spot for me to figure out what to put, and I'll still fiddle around with things to put along the border, and this may end up changing over the years, but for now I have those hydrangeas. I put those in last year, and this video I did recently, just giving this front area a little bit of a makeover. I went in and divided all of these hosta and put them around the Jane magnolia. I think they're looking so pretty right there, especially right now with the purple flowers. Oh my goodness, I love how that looks. And I have some purple Pallas heuchera in the front, which I need to keep an eye on. The one on the end there, but these other two look like they are leafing out pretty well. So they will provide some contrast against those variegated hosta. And I have a group of lamb's ear that also needs divided. You can see how it's so bare in the middle. That's usually a sign that the perennials need divided. If they start getting bare spots in the middle and just not looking very full. I would love to replace that with the Helen von Stein that I have in my main border that I absolutely love, with the big foliage, and that one does not flower either. I'm not a huge fan of the lamb's ear flowers. And these tulips are looking so pretty, but again, look at this. I've got some pink on this end, but no pink down there. So I don't know what's going on, but still, they look absolutely gorgeous. And I had added this boxwood hedge back here that I am going to let grow into individual balls around 2 to 3 feet in size. And then my plan is to eventually replace the Standina with a hedge of hydrangea, either the Annabelle or the incredible hydrangea. I think will look so pretty with the boxwood in front and my annual border of tulips and sun patience in the front, in front of the boxwood, I think will look beautiful. I also made a change here where I removed the boxwood that were here and added in this liriope that I had saved from removing the liriope over here. Over here, it was just way too hard to control. It was just in these big clumps and just spreading everywhere. So my goal is to just keep it in check and contained into this little area right by our sidewalk where we walk a lot and step on this area a lot. So I wanted something that would be really tough and resilient and wouldn't mind getting stepped on. So I think that it'll look really nice here and be much easier to maintain. I don't show this a lot, but I have this ajuga in this bed around this boxwood that has been struggling. I think it must have gotten spider mites or something last year because it is looking real brown and crispy, not so great. So I'm hoping that that will be able to rejuvenate this year a little bit. But this bugleweed or ajuga I put in last year, and I had one die in the middle right there, but these two really took off and are spreading quite prolifically. So they will get beautiful purple flowers. You can see some starting to form right there. And I'm just letting them surround this boxwood as a ground cover right here. I think they'll look super pretty once that's all filled in. On the right hand side of my house, we have this little flagstone walkway. I do have a geranium, a Roseanne geranium planted in here. Hopefully that'll come back for me this year. And I have a clump of daffodils right there that I'm probably going to end up taking out because they just don't perform. So I'd rather have something that performs a little bit better for me. And I have this grouping of grass right here. And this is, I'm forgetting the name of it now. I will have to put that up on the screen as well. I always want to call it carex, but it's not carex. I got these on clearance last year at the end of the season from Home Depot, and I cut them back, which you're supposed to do, but I am not sure if they're alive or not because I don't really see, I guess I see a few new shoots of growth. I'm gonna have to wait and see what happens. Hopefully they made it, but they do provide a really nice gold color right there. And I have this dwarf glow blue spruce that I love against the roses, that reddish foliage. And then the star of the show right now is this beautiful Merlot redbud. This has not looked this good ever since we've had it in this area. It's, I think, on its third year. And it is just showing off and looking so beautiful. Look at those flowers. Every branch is just covered in flowers, and you can see these beautiful purple, not purple, more of a reddish leaf that this gets. It actually looks more purple as the season goes on, as the summer goes on. It'll turn a little bit more purple, but my camera's not wanting to focus. But the leaves just come out this brilliant red in the springtime, and I just cannot get over the flowers on this Merlot redbud right now. Right below the redbud, we have the winter gem boxwood, a little hedge of 3, and an incredible hydrangea tucked back in there, and a set of red roses. This is the Oh So Easy double red rose right in front that are really leafing out nicely. Behind my roses, I have a clematis that is looking very nice right now. This is the Jolly Good clematis, really starting to take off and hopefully make its way up this trellis. That is only the second year that I have it in the ground, so I'm happy to see it's doing so well. And I have some allium. This is the, I think, serendipity allium in front of my roses that are looking healthy. And I'd love to fill out this wall too with some trellises in the future, just to take away the darkness of it as the other wall that I showed you. This is a red beauty holly that is still pretty young and will get much taller, about 8 feet tall, to help fill out this area. And wow, my daisies, this is the Daisy May daisy from Proven Winners. They have really grown a lot. They were much tinier last year when I put them in, so they really did well. I'm really pleased to see that. We have 2 rhododendron flanking our AC unit. You can see all of the buds on here. They will burst into bloom soon with beautiful pinkish, purplish flowers. I love when they come into bloom. And then I have some autumn joy sedum just tucked in front of our AC unit here, trying to beautify this area as much as possible. And that is an overview of our entire yard here in the middle of April. I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing what's going on, what's coming up, what's blooming. Not every walk and talk tour will be quite this long, but I just felt like there was so much that had been bursting into bloom even since last week that I needed to just give you a full overview of everything. So thank you so much for joining me today and watching my videos. I appreciate it so much. I will talk to you guys very soon. I hope that you have a great day. Bye.